Everybody, Mrs. Miller here with a hopefully short video about comparative adjectives. This is the next unit we will be practicing in our Grammar 2 class. The information about comparative adjectives is found in our textbook, Focus on Grammar, 4th edition, Unit 33. Are you ready to begin? Let's go. Here we have a little kitten. I think the kitten is cute. I think the kitten is fluffy. He has a lot of fur. And the kitten is adorable. So easy to love. Do you know why the words cute, fluffy, and adorable are in blue? It's because they are adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. And remember, nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. In this case, our noun is a thing, a kitten. So cute describes kitten. Cute is our adjective. Fluffy is our adjective, and adorable is our adjective. Sometimes adjectives are short, like cute. Sometimes they're a little longer, fluffy. And sometimes they're longer than that, adorable, adorable. That's 4 syllables. That's a long adjective. So remember, we must not forget an adjective. When you hear the word adjective, remember it describes a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. The adjective gives more information about it. Alrighty, let's go on to another friend, the crocodile. This guy is okay to be friends with from a distance, though, yeah? All right, let's describe this crocodile. He's big. He's scary, at least in my view. And he's aggressive. He's ready to attack. Do you know why big, scary, and aggressive are in blue? That's right. Just like the kitten, these blue words are adjectives. They are describing the crocodile, which is the noun. It is a thing. It's an animal. Big, scary, aggressive. Sometimes adjectives are short. Sometimes adjectives are long. But either way, an adjective will describe a noun, which is a person, place, thing, idea. In this case, it is an animal. The adjective gives more information about our noun. So, let's practice. We're going to compare a kitten to the crocodile, and we're going to use our adjectives. But in English, we have to change the form of the adjective to make our meaning clear. Look at each sentence and choose the correct form of the adjective to finish the sentence. Are you ready to check? What was your answer for number 1? The kitten is cuter. Repeat, cuter, cuter than the crocodile. Number 2, the kitten is, that's right, furrier, furrier than the crocodile. And in number 3, the kitten is more adorable than the crocodile. More adorable. Now, let's go to the crocodile. Again, we're comparing 2 things, the crocodile and the kitten. And we're using an adjective to explain what we mean. Finish the sentence for number 1, 2, and 3 with the correct form of the adjective. The crocodile is, number 1, bigger, bigger than the kitten. We have to make the double G there because it's consonant, vowel, consonant, big. So when we make it bigger, we add the double G. If we don't add the double G, we will say biger, and that is a completely different idea, and I don't even know that's an English word. So, bigger. Number 2, the crocodile is exactly scarier, scarier than the kitten, at least in my view. And number 3, the crocodile is, yes, more aggressive than the kitten. Now in class, we're going to do a more challenging activity. So I'm going to skip the next couple slides because we'll do that, like I said, in class. Okay, so now let's do a little dictation exercise. If you're at home looking at the PowerPoint, then all you have to do is push this button to hear my voice. But since we're on the video together, we can just do this together. I'm going to read 7 sentences. You need a piece of paper and a pencil. Stop the video and go get your supplies and come on back. Okay, welcome back. Each sentence I will read, and then you write down exactly what you hear. Try to use your best spelling and punctuation. We will then check the sentences on the next slide. Are you ready? If you need to repeat, please go back on the video play button and repeat as many times as necessary. All right, here we go. Number 1. My students are smarter than Mrs. Jarvis's students. My students are smarter than Mrs. Jarvis's students. Number 2. My weekdays are busier than my weekends. My weekdays are busier than my weekends. Number 3. Grammar 2 class is more difficult than Grammar 1 class. Grammar 2 class is more difficult than Grammar 1 class. Number 4. Summer is worse than winter in Houston. Summer is worse than winter in Houston. Number 5. An adult is much more responsible than a child. An adult is much more responsible than a child. Number 6. Who has more problems, adults or children? Who has more problems, adults or children? Number 7. Children have fewer problems than adults. Children have fewer problems than adults. All right, go back and repeat if necessary. And if you're ready to check, let's see. Number 1. My students are smarter than Mrs. Jarvis's students. Number 2. My weekdays are busier than my weekends. Number 3. Grammar 2 class is more difficult than Grammar 1 class. Number 4. Summer is worse than winter in Houston. 5. An adult is much more responsible than a child. Than a child. We don't always say than a child. We say than a child. It is than, T-H-A, but when we pronounce it, we reduce the sound to then a child, then a child, then a child. Number 6, who has more problems, adults or children? And number 7, children have fewer problems than adults. Alrighty, in class, we'll talk with a partner, but right now, let's talk about what is happening in each one of these sentences. We're comparing 2 different things. Number 1, students to students, weekdays to weekends, grammar 2 to grammar 1, summer to winter, an adult to a child. And then we're using the comparative adjective plus the word than in each sentence. In number 6 and 7, they're a little different because we're not using adjectives. More problems. Fewer problems. Problems are nouns. And so we'll talk about how to compare nouns a little later. Let's work now on comparative adjectives. Remember, we're going to compare 2 things only. And we want to make sure that we compare the same things. Example, my students are smarter than Mrs. Jarvis. Nope, that's not what we mean. We don't mean to say my students compared to Mrs. Jarvis. We mean my students are smarter than Mrs. Jarvis's students. Be careful on that. You compare the same thing. Or you can say, the next one, sorry. My weekdays are busier than you. Huh? No, that's not what we mean. We mean my weekdays are busier than your weekdays. Or my weekdays are busier than yours. Means your weekdays combined. That is a possessive pronoun, and we say yours, not you. So be careful that you compare the same thing. So let's talk about the rules. Of course, you know English grammar has rules. So let's talk about what rules there are to form a comparative adjective. And remember, as we said in the beginning, an adjective describes a or a noun or pronoun, and it gives more information about it. In our example slides in the beginning, we had a few comparative adjectives. Here they are. Can you group these? Can you categorize them into 4 different groups? Stop the video now to see if you can put these 11 adjectives into 4 different groups. However way you could see it might work. When you're ready, push the play button again. I'm going to go to the next slide to show you the 4 groups. Here are the 4 groups of those 11 adjectives. Do you know why we categorized these adjectives into these groups? Well, we're going to find out in the following slides. The first rule is when the adjective has 1 syllable. When that's the case, we just add ER. So fast becomes faster. Next one, bigger, slower, smarter. Oh, I forgot the ER. Sorry, guys. Put ER on smart. Older, younger, cleaner. 1 syllable, add ER. What do I mean by syllable? Syllable. These are the stress points in a word. Syllable. Adjective. Comparative. So let's talk about these adjectives here in the black. Fast. Fast. 1 syllable. Big. 1 syllable. Slow. Smart. Old. Young. Clean. All 1 syllable. Just add ER. Again, be careful. Some of these ones have spelling rules. If it's consonant, vowel, consonant on a short word, we will double the final consonant. Check the back of your book for the rules about spelling. So, in our example above, the first group, cuter, bigger, smarter, are short adjectives, 1 syllable only. Now we're going to go to this group. Furrier, scarier, busier. Do you know why? That is because those adjectives end in the letter Y. It doesn't matter if they're 1 syllable, 2 syllables, or 445 syllables. If they end in the letter Y, if the adjective ends in the letter Y, change the Y to I and add ER. Example, uglier, prettier. Repeat, please. Prettier. Are you repeating? I can't hear you. Prettier. 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 Lazier. Busier. Scarier. Oh boy. I forgot the IER. Did you notice that right here? Scarier. Crazier. And always the word than comes after that. Busier than. Scarier than. All right. Then in our other group, we had more adorable, more aggressive, more difficult, more responsible. Do you know why those go together? Did you say it's because they are long syllables? Excellent job. That's correct. If it's 2 or more syllables with the adjective, keep the adjective the same and just add the word more. Difficult, intelligent, handsome, honest, responsible, curious. And of course, we want to add the word than, more difficult than. And our last group of categorizing up here was the word worse. Do you know why? You guessed it. In English, there are always exceptions. I know you love them so much. Here are some of the most common exceptions for comparative adjectives. We don't say gooder, we say better. We don't say badder, we say worse. Not farer, farther, farther. Bored, 1 syllable. Bored. We don't say border, more bored. Fun, fun, 1 syllable. We don't say funner, we say more fun. Simple, 2 syllables. Simple, we say simpler. Boy, this video is simpler to understand than my book. Quiet, quiet, 2 syllables. We don't say more quiet. Usually you will hear quieter, quieter. The library is quieter than the cafeteria. Those are the 4 groups. 1 syllable, adjectives that end in Y, adjectives that have 2 or more syllables, and the exceptions group. And of course, we always want to use the word than when we're comparing 2 things. Those are the adjectives. Now we're going to turn a corner and we're going to talk about something similar. Comparing nouns. Remember, nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. Look at the picture here on the screen. It's a scoreboard. At the soccer game, we have United versus Madrid. Not much time left, and Madrid is ahead by 3 goals. Goal! If you've never watched a soccer game broadcast in Spanish, you have to. Anytime a player scores a goal, the announcer says, goal, and they hold it for like 5 minutes. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it. All right, let's talk about the goals. Who scored more goals, United or Madrid? Right, Madrid. Madrid scored more goals than United. There is the word than again. Now, let's reverse it. Can you tell me how many goals? Like, start the sentence with United. United scored more goals? No. United scored fewer goals than Madrid. Fewer. Repeat, please. Fewer. Fewer goals. Not less. We'll talk about that in a minute. Some people want to say less goals, but that's not good English. Let's keep going. We talked about goals. Now we're going to talk about another thing, and that is hair. Who has more hair, Mark or Troy? More hair. Well, obviously, Troy has more hair than Mark. Now, let's do the reverse. Start with Mark. Mark has less hair than Troy. Wait a minute. Less hair? Don't we mean fewer hair? Like in fewer goals? Fewer goals? But less hair. Huh. Okay, well, let's talk about it. When we're working with nouns and we want to talk about more, that's easy because it's more. But if it's not more, then we have 2 options. Less or fewer. Less hair, fewer goals. Let's see if we can categorize these nouns. More hair, less hair. More money, less money. More homework, less homework. My students always ask for less homework. More time, less time. more books, fewer books, more people, fewer people, more knives, fewer knives, more bills, fewer bills. Oof, who doesn't want fewer bills? Alrighty, why do we have the green and the yellow boxes here with less and fewer? When do we use less? If the noun is non-count, is uncountable. We cannot count money. We cannot count homework. We cannot count time. They are non-count nouns. If this idea is new for you, non-count nouns, please Google it, go to YouTube and find a video about it, or ask your teacher. Please, you must know what a non-count noun is and what a countable noun is. Because we can count books, knives, bills, people. If there is an S on it, or it has a plural form, then it is countable. And we will say fewer. Less with non-count, fewer with count. Less with non-count, fewer with count. Less with fewer with Less with, fewer with. All right, you got it? Okay. What if we want to make the comparison stronger? Troy has much more hair than Mark. Not just more hair, but much more hair. Then we use the word much to make it stronger. Mark is much more handsome than Troy. Not just more handsome, much more handsome than Troy, in some people's opinion. And Troy is much richer than Mark. Troy is not just richer, he is much richer. Troy is a professional athlete, and Mark works at McDonald's. So Troy is much richer than Mark. If you notice, the comparative adjectives are just the normal formation. The only thing we do different is add the word much to make it stronger. Let's practice making comparisons stronger. You'll need a piece of paper to write your answers. Pause the video while you get your supplies. There are 6 sentences here. I started the first one for you. Please use comparative adjectives, but make them stronger, just like we saw in our example before this slide. First one is finished for you. Grammar 2 is not just more difficult, but much more difficult than grammar 1. Pause the video and write some ideas in on your paper to complete these sentences. Then we will look at the next slide for some example answers. All right, let's go on now. If you've pushed the play button again, here are some example answers. My life now is much more complicated than it was 5 years ago. More complicated, much more complicated. Nicer, much nicer. Less expensive, much less expensive. Harder, much harder. Uglier, much uglier than my other teacher. Alrighty, we are about to finish what we learned about our comparative adjectives in this video. This is a little quiz for you to see if you can remember the basic points from this video. Please push pause while you look at each sentence and correct the error. Then the next slide will have the answers for you. Ready? Push the pause button while you try to fix the sentence. All right. I'm going to now go to the next slide to talk about the answers. Are you ready? Number 1, my house is bigger than your house, or my house is bigger than yours. Remember, compare the same thing, house to house, not house to person. Crime in Chicago is worse than in Houston, not that. Than in Houston. Number 3. Tokyo is farther away. Farther. Remember, that was group 4. That was an exception. Farther. 4. Easier, not more easy. Easier. It ends in Y. That's group 2. So we say easier. Now this was checking if you could remember that bills are nouns, and they are countable nouns. So we say more bills or fewer bills, fewer with countable nouns. Number 6, more aggressive. Aggressive. 3 syllables, so we must say more aggressive. Good job, you guys. It's not easy to learn a new thing, and especially it's not easy to undo old habits. If you have a bad habit of saying things incorrectly, now is the time to make a new habit. If you still want more information about comparatives, click here for a link to an interesting YouTube video. Maybe it will be more interesting than this PowerPoint. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and bring any questions you have to your teacher. Bye-bye.